Well, hello, ladies and gents. I'm starting a new project and I wanted to share it with all of you because hopefully you can play along. So, this has to go back into your memory banks. If you were in my Trashy and Flowish Junk Journal group 5 years ago, this is all going to be very familiar to you. Um, if you're in my group, but you got there later than that, well, then you may not know what this is all about. So back then, we did a swap, and the swap was inspired by these books by Nick Bangtalk. You may be familiar with him. He did these series of books between Griffin and Sabine, and it's correspondence between them. They didn't know each other at the time when they started this correspondence, and multiple books were made featuring the correspondence between the two of them. What we did in the group, I developed two different characters. We had prompts and we would send letters and postcards back and forth to our swap partners. And the ladies really seemed to enjoy it. And we some really, really pretty postcards came out of that, some very lovely letters. It was a fun experience. So since then, I've been wanting to do that on a little on a personal scale with another person. And one thing after another just, took over in my life, and I've just never gotten around to it until now. So, a lot of you might be familiar with Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. She has a YouTube channel, and we are going to be doing it together. So, so here comes. Well, first, before I go any further, for those of you that are not familiar with these books, the way that the books are made, it has the postcards that were sent back and forth. It has some envelopes with the letters that they corresponded with each other with, and so on and so forth. So I just love the concept. It's pretty cool. And this is one of the books. There are several. You can look them up. And here's another one. And again, it has the letters in here, and these are the postcards. And it's just an interesting, fun concept. Okay, so we did that at the end of, I forget how many months we did it. I think we did it for at least 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. And then at the end, the individuals were going to make either a journal or a box or something to contain the letters. Now, they, could have gotten inspiration from the book where it has the letters, and the postcards, or take inspiration from another publication of his, whoops, where you open it up and here is a place for a little journal, and over here was space for all these really, really cool postcards. So that was the inspiration for it, okay? But of course, um, I was being inspired by the actual theme, but I had to come up with a different storyline. So the storyline I came up with, I don't know where it came from, but it just popped in my head. And I guess because I like to do journals that have to do with nature and everything. So I named it Where the Hummingbird and the Butterflies Sleep. And then I had to get a little backstory so that when we did the letters and the postcards that it made kind of sense. So this is what I came up with, and I'll share that with you, the ones that, weren't in my group and don't know about this. So it's two sisters. One is Sarafina and the other one is Lyra. All right. So Sarafina, she was very studious. She was very an intellectual kind of person. And then her sister, Serafina, I mean, her sister Lyra, I'm going to get them confused. Her sister Lyra, who was younger, she was more like the artist, the dreamer, the one that thought outside of the box. And in the storyline, it takes place in the late 1800s. And during that period of time, polio was pretty rampant around the world. So in this storyline, the younger sister, she um, gets polio. She's in her wheelchair, and now the one that was the adventurous one, the whimsical one, she is now confined to a wheelchair, and she became depressed. And the only real question she had, and she would always ask her sister, was where do the hummingbirds and the butterflies sleep? Well, Serafina, she was a very, like I said, intellectual, very unusual for that period of time. She was able to go to college. And because her sister was so distraught, she decided to go on this quest for her sister to find her the answer to that question that really nagged Lyra. And that begins the journey, and that begins the correspondence between the two sisters as she tries to find the answer to the question for her sister. That is kind of it in a nutshell. So then I made some prompts for each month for the letter and for the postcard, so that when they were doing them as a swap in the group way back when, 5 years ago, there would always be consistency in the flow of the correspondence back and forth, because there would be a phrase or a word or a place that would tie everything together. So I thought we'll do the same thing again. And so what I am putting out there is Lynn and I are going to be doing this. We're going to be making videos. We're going to show, um, where our ideas are going to go, because it's sort of like where I was telling her, it's like we have a plot for the movie or a plot for the book, and now it's up to us to develop it and see where it goes. So both of ours are going to probably go in totally different directions, but following the exact same theme. So I'm going to put a copy of the prompts in my Facebook groups, and I will also put them down below of the video. And that way, if you want to play along with us and create your own correspondence, or if you want to hook up with a friend and do it with somebody else, that might be a lot of fun doing it like Lynn and I are doing. And then each month, as the prompts will indicate, you'll have what you'll include in either the letter or the postcard, and go from there. So I'm sure it'll become more clear as we go along, or it might become more confusing because I've done that before. Um, yeah, so I'm just kind of hoping that maybe some will want to play with us, and maybe some that are in the group would like to do it. So I will have the information below. Also, I'll have a link to Lynn's YouTube channel in case you aren't familiar with her. And so between the two of us, you'll kind of get, hopefully, unless we mess it up, a really consistent flow to these different prompts that we'll have for each month. Okay, I'm sure I've messed it all up and confused you more than informed you, but that's just the way I flow. I confuse myself. So anyway, so we're gonna start with the month of May, and if we don't, totally mess it up, I'm sure you'll enjoy our adventure, the adventure of where the hummingbirds and the butterflies sleep. All right. Okay. Thanks.